Let's go to work, 'cause I'm tripping. Gotta work on myself, 'cause I'm falling apart. Please wake me up, 'cause I'm slipping. Can't fight this feeling off no more. But I'm not going to give up and fall. Rise above it all, meet all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all, I'm never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again, yeah. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go. Start to believe in myself and life will be sweet again, so sweet again. Above it all, beat all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all, I never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again, again. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go, let it go. And I start to believe in myself, and life will be sweet again.
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Oh. Fear not the Monday, precious student. Today is the day to learn about all kinds of things. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. Good to see you. Good. I can feel your witness. That's what I mean by see you. When I say I see you, I mean my pineal's like, hey, man, there's people watching you right now. It's sort of like on a delay through a router. And Cisco has a lot to do with this whole concept, but magically speaking, Mr. Drew, you are being witnessed right now, and I feel that. I feel that, and I'm not muted. That's great. I didn't even have to ask. It's going to be a good show when you don't even have to ask. That's right. Let me see, Sensei in the room. That's right. Sensei is always in the room, and if you don't know who it is, it could be you. It could be you. It could. Why are we even waiting? Come on, it's the 5th, and we have 2 doors to open. Let me just look for them. 5 minutes later. I'm still looking. Okay, 4 is going to be right there at R. R, there's 4. There's door 4. And I'm glad that Mayor made it this adventurous. And we guys, I've not been showing the inside. This is actually the best part. So let me show you 4s. 4, whoops, we'll get that. 4 is a balanced rock. Okay, there's 4. Beautiful picture. I can't believe I didn't show you 1, 2, and 3. Here's 1 is the giraffe. Look at that. It's a giraffe, see? The hyena has evolved into the giraffe, and he's right there. And then below it, we've got, that looks like a cool mountain face there. Wow. I wonder if that's Scotland. That could be where this is from. I bet you that's Scotland. And then we've got, 2, oh my goodness. Look at that. The tribal flag flying over Scotland right there. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. And of course, we have the Cairn, Inukchuk, right? That's what we just opened, was the Inukchuk. And finally, we have 5. 5, there's 5. There we go. Oh, look at that. It's a castle. There's 5. I shouldn't have told you. I should have just showed you. But there's 5. Which is the, not only is it a castle, but that's actually not, I don't think that's photo. I don't know. She's been putting her flag up in places that are, frankly, a little bit provocative. In fact, I believe that there's a school board. Is that going to come back into focus? Are you going to come back? Or are you like, no, you've destroyed me. You placed too much things in front of my eyes. and sorry for coughing for the mic. You placed too much things in front of my eyes, and I will now give you a fuzzy blur. A fuzzy blur. Is that going to work? Come on, buddy. Bring it back. Follow me. Computer, focus on my hand. Let's see if it does it. Is it going to work? We'll figure that out too. 2 pieces of candy up if you order a book from me. I can't do it through Amazon, but if you order a book from me, my new book is out. It's a great opportunity to buy. We will have a showcase showdown, to determine who gets these 2 fine pieces of candy, which came all the way from Scotland. So they got some magicality already going on there too, right? We got a round bond. This is the single bond, right? Because bonds would be the testicles or the 10 Commandments. If you've read my book, you ever wonder why it's 2 stones? You ever wonder why inside the Ark of the Covenant is 2 stones and a rod, a budding rod of Aaron, literally from an almond tree? Almond, the word Magdalene, Mary Magdalene. And does this ring a bell to anyone? Does this ring an almond to anyone? Almond joys got nuts, mounts don't. Does anyone see that? Is there a historian in the house? Oh, historian. Oh, almond joys got nuts, mounts don't. Tell me if that rings a bell. And he would say, oh, yes, it does. It does ring a bell. So if you read my new book, you would have that bell. It would already be ringing. Right now, you'd be going ding-a-ling-a-ling. I remember that part. That was a cool part. So there you go. By the way, Stern Warning is a cool name. I'm just now, Wanderer is a really good name. Stern Wanderer. I haven't seen you in a while. You've probably been here, but I just haven't seen you. But seriously, I just decoded that name. He's wandering forward. He's wandering stern. You understand? He could totally mean it a different way. Could even be a she. Although I'm pretty sure I know exactly who that is. I just don't want to oust him, because he's hiding behind the S. He's not even hiding. He's just choosing. Am I going to get this thing back? Where are you? If we go to preset location, we'll switch there. And then there. And then there. There we go. That seems to be better. Controversial topic today. Don't even know if I should do it, because honestly, last week was kind of a bitch week. amperage coming through last week in my energy body. I'm actually feeling that. Excuse me. Just getting to the slideshow here. Actually feeling that. Feeling the amperage through my Faraday cage. And I've been talking to people, and I've noticed that I'm not the only one going through that. I think what's happening is a lot of people have had no choice but to level up. And before the latest eugenics program, we saw this coming. And this is what I mean by 2 steps forward, wait 15 minutes. The fog is cleared, the cannibalism is set in. You saw this last week. I just want to point out, you literally saw the cannibalism last week as you watched two neckbeards stroke each other's beard and talk about how I was the source of all their problems. You saw the whole thing laid out for you. And I hope that maybe it reflects something going on in your life, because as I keep telling myself and my aunt and my friend, actually not just I don't want to say their names, but not just, but also, and it's gosh, how do I say this? How you treat yourself when you feel, the pull is the only possible time you will and can level up. It's really the only time. You will never level up when you're on the beach drinking a daiquiri. It'll never happen. It won't. There's a difference between dopamine and serotonin, right? Dopamine is pleasure. Serotonin is happiness. Dopamine says, I like this. I want more. Serotonin says, wow, I really enjoyed this. I've had enough. It's very different pedals, right? I would argue with you that serotonin is the clutch. And I purposely left out this because I didn't want to confuse people as we explain how reality is rendered through the eye of Ra, or the first eye. The pineal gland is actually the first thing. It's a half a second ahead of your neocortex. Before you even realize something is happening, there is most of the systems inside your body have already realized it. And if you think that you are an aft wanderer, if you think that you drive your boat from the past, actually, yeah, I'm saying from the past, it's a very confusing model. But let's go over it again. Melanin is brake. That's how you stop reality. Gas pedal, dopamine. That's how you say, I want more reality, I want more reality, I want more reality. Clutch is how you say, wow, this reality's great. I'm gonna push the clutch in. I'm gonna disengage the torque. I'm happy. And at any time if I want more, I just let off that clutch and oof, I go. Now, if anyone who doesn't drive a stick shift, which is probably most of you, maybe, I don't fucking know, you may not know what that means, which is another reason why I don't talk about it. I can't talk about the secret clutch analogy. There's certain analogies that I cannot share with you. Oh, right? This is why you should come to 5.5. Did I just plug my own show on 5.5 in Rhode Island? Gosh, is that even right for me to plug my own show on 5.5 in Rhode Island? The one where all these people last week were trying to shoot it down and actually stop it from happening? Ladies and gentlemen, it's actually official. I've been told I shouldn't be on YouTube. So is it wrong for me to talk about it? It's probably too self-serving, so I won't mention it. But I almost did. I almost mentioned the show. I'm so stoked. We've sold enough tickets to really satisfy all of the base requirements that we wanted to bring. And everything that sold after that is, oh man, if you guys come through, we've sold 90 tickets. We probably have maybe 10 more. Actually, it would be 14 more left at this early bird price because it's going to be 55 and 55. So 110, no, 20. We have 20 left. 20 left. And I will stop talking about this because we're coming into the holidays. People aren't even going to be thinking about this stuff right now. And that's why it's good to know. So 20 left of those things. And man, I cannot wait to show you guys some of the things we got cooking. One of which is actually kind of related to today. And today I wanted to talk about a Holocaust. First of all, this is profound photo. It really says pretty much fucking everything. The fact that the school looks like a prison, the fact that the students are inmates, and the fact that all of this is happening while people are screaming that we have to elect the right politician because of human trafficking that was happening overseas. Do you realize that the Ukraine crowd is the same crowd as the elite are blood-sucking human traffickers? I bet you didn't know that. I bet one of you was shocked right now. I am shocked by that accusation. How dare you? How dare you? But the easiest way to take your mind off the fact that you and I and all of our taxes are paying for these kinds of activities at our school, and that we keep sending our kids back, and realizing that the only reason why we send our kids back is because we can cling to the idea that at least we're not elite Luciferian human traffickers. Do you understand how sick that is? And when I say sick, I'm going to amend that word. Do you realize how deep the medicine of melanin is? This is melanin. This isn't sick. This is your body. This is my body. This is all of human psyche using its profound ability to hide from itself. Boo. Hides from itself. Eugenics is romanticized in the catacombs of France. It's spooky. No one knows what happened in the catacombs. Thousands of miles of evacuated limestone quarried out to build the very cathedral that sits above its veins. The empty catacomb veins echoing the nameless deaths, the mystery of it all. Eugenics is romanticized in our culture, and we romanticize it to pretend it doesn't happen. Eugenics is capitalized. A Yiddish poet, Moses Schulstein, said, "We are the shoes. We are the last witnesses. We are shoes from grandchildren and grandfathers, from Prague, Paris, and Amsterdam. And because we are only made of fabric and leather, and not of blood and flesh, each one of us avoided the hellfire." And this is the perfect example of capitalizing on eugenics. This is a vacuum of prana, a vacuum of guilt, and it's asking for absolution paid in your demise. That the shame that you feel from seeing these things allows you to claim responsibility while pretending you're not doing it now. It's the most beautiful medicine I've ever seen us do, and we practice it every day. We capitalize on it. We take the very thing that is killing us all and turn it into capitalism. Eugenics is politicized through shoes. Every year, a new ritual of shoes is introduced as if it was the last. Every year, a new ritual of shoes is added as a salacious offering in the food court. Eugenics is a natural resource of government. I really hope that sinks in, what a natural resource is. A natural resource is something that's owned by a nation collectively, All taxpayers own its natural resources. Its management and protection goes underneath the umbrella of said government. And that eugenics itself is a natural resource owned by a government. It's its only natural resource. It owns, most of the time, it owns the monopoly on that resource. However, certain governments are less efficient, and they have allowed the virus of sovereignty to remain in their soil, and certain things must be done to eradicate and remove that weed every season. And so the natural resource that the government has is utilized to eliminate all threats, foreign? No. All threats domestic to that natural resource. And that natural resource is fear. That natural resource is cortisol. It's cortisol. I would offer to you that government owns a monopoly on cortisol. When you are receiving dopamine through a pleasure, not a happiness, and that dopamine that you are receiving comes with cortisol, you develop and become a completely different creature. The dopamine is rewarding you with pleasure, and the cortisol is showcasing it in stress, which means that you end up seasoning yourself on an appetite of pleasure and stress mixed together. Now, the ability to turn someone into a cortisolian is a science that's been developed for, I would say, it's not really fair to say millennia. It's probably more fair to say probably millions and billions of years. And that the technique of cortisoling someone is the exact same science as breaking a horse, as breaking a dog, as breaking a colonial child. If you read some of the prairie records of colonial Americans, and the immense cruelty that was required to create a tame child in the home. It was some brutal stuff. I remind you that Edward Jenner, the founder of vaccines, who actually was trying to pass off horse grease, literal tar shit that's inside the hoofs of horses, was trying to inject that in people and was convinced that that was the way to solve people. And what he was doing was activating these very kinds of agents. Unbeknownst to him, of course, because we're still living in that area where if we're not conscious of what we do, it doesn't count. This is my favorite part about our melanin. Our ability to melanate our world comes in this excuse we have where, yeah, but you didn't know you were doing that, so it doesn't really count. It doesn't count. Look, man, you rented an RV and you mowed down a giant parking lot full of kids. How are you supposed to know? Come on, man, you're in a giant RV. How can you know that? I mean, come on. And shouldn't kids kind of learn better? And we have that. We actually have that. It's maybe not as extreme, but we have that exact same thing with our own behavior all the time. We do it with Zionism. That's why I explained last week. That we will gather amongst each other and hyenacate whatever it takes to feel and say whatever we want to do just to feel better. And this is a feature. I'm not here to preach to you and say change that. I do the same thing. I don't want no cortisol in my veins. I don't want no cortisol, no. I don't want no cortisol, no. I don't want that. And part of you waking up, watching all these things happen is the cortisol is activated. And then you start to find the dopamine flow when you feel like you're opening doors. And those doors that you're opening that you think are about the government or the deep state or the PSYOP program or the alien program or the underground ant program, or there's fucking megalodons in the Great Lakes program, whatever the hell it is, you're not activating doors outside of yourself. You're activating yourself. You're opening neural pathways and saying, I might need this. I might need to be able to believe in this, so I need to go ahead and build a pathway for it in my crystal palace. And this is a feature. This is a good feature. And at any point in time, you can melanate that and say, slow the fuck down. Push that clutch in. Your serotonin says, not only do I enjoy this, I've had enough. Do you realize how much electricity it has to even contemplate having a clutch? A reptile has no clutch. A reptile is run purely because there's a leash of cortisol that is squeezing the human, that's inserting every kind of pleasure that comes with an injection of cortisol. Why do you think you're raised like veal in school? Why do you think our kids are raised like veal in school? Because the cortisol installs so much quicker. Oh God, it's so much quicker. It is so much quicker this way. We can find kids hiding in the doors. Hiding in the closets, behind the AV shelter. A man develops an addiction. And anytime man has an addiction, there will always be a dealer. And you can keep trying to blame the dealer all you want. It's the dealeroos. It's the dealeroos. It's the dealers. And if we were to assemble a militia and go through and shoot all the dealers, all of us would be fine. And the graphic of that Zionism is just beautiful in the poster because it's got these photos of all these piled up shoes on it. And you see the shoes. And you feel the salvation's pull. And that pulling is allowing you to eliminate all the shoes, the empty shoes that you're creating in your own life, because here is this menace doing it for me. So much better than I ever could. This is the halls of mentholyptus of Christ. The exact same kind of medicine placed on the chest pulls this magnetic dirt out of you, which makes it good medicine. Zionism is good medicine. Eugenics is good medicine. Capitalizing on eugenics is technically alchemy. It's not technically. It's just a sick alchemy, but it's alchemy. It's medicine. What is venom but sick alchemy? That's what venom is sick alchemy. We are the alchemists with a nasal infection. Oy vey, shut the wooden door. The term Holocaust was coined by the New York Times on September 10th, 1895. When I say coined, I mean used in the press as a moniker. And this story really came from the Armenian Holocaust, the burning of villages, as a reference to genocide, the systemic murder of one race of people by another. The term is first employed to describe the Armenian Massacre, 1894, and the burning of Armenian villages by the Ottoman Turks. It was on September 10th, 1895, and it was the New York Times who ran the headline, 5 villages burned, 5,000 people made homeless, and anti-Christians organized. One Holocaust in particular stands out during that period, the burning of a cathedral in Urfa, formerly Edessa, with 3,000 Christians inside. Now, if you haven't seen The Astrology of Jesus, my stream, if you haven't seen I wonder if I can find that. It would be so cool if I just did a search and this just came up. Let's see if it happens. This is probably going to be under Alma Christi. The Weapons of Christ. Okay, nope. Just give me a sec here. 5 minutes later. It's It's actually in my book. Holy cow. It's actually in my book. Hang on. Thank you. 5 minutes later. It's going to be when you start to understand how much of Christianity was based on the desire to have a saint who tortures himself. You start to, and all this is in my stream. So for some of you already know this. So I kind of feel like I'm hurting you, and I'm just trying to help out the people that haven't seen. This is why I don't talk about this a lot, because I never know where the audience is. But when you start to look at the list of what, I'm going to have to flip through every page to find it. Ugh. Come on, man, I wish I could search that. Every single saint has this, this award on their chest showing, well, my skin was flailed, or I was burnt alive, or I watched my child eat a sword, and then my wife had to clean it up, and then they killed her, and then they killed me. And it's this Olympics. It's a victimhood Olympics. And I know that what we see right now out in regular culture is already kind of insane enough, but I'm here to tell you that the victimhood Olympics used to be much worse. And not only did it used to be, it still is worse, that there are professional victimhood Olympics, and one of those is called the New York Times. And they're not the only one. You don't get to say, oh, well, the New York Times is owned by certain people that clearly are the problem. And if we could just eliminate those people, everything would be fine because we are totally great and there's nothing bad about us. That kind of fucking mentality is the retard in the room. You want to look for a scapegoat? I think we need to look at the fucking retards at least once and say, hey, retards, can you stop eating your own shit, please? Can you stop buying into shoes? If I make a mobile of shoes, you guys will lay down on the fucking floor and masturbate as you're watching the shoes go around, saying, it's them, it's the shoe people, the people who we must find the shoe. We gotta find the shoes. And that's what's doing it. You want to know what's causing all this shit? It's that. That's what's doing it. Because that leads to the Zionism of saying we can have a better way if we find a government, if we do this, if we go kill them, if we crusade them, if we do this, or if we just eliminate them. We just got to find them. And if once we have to expose them. Oh my God, we have to see them naked. Yeah, we're going to start a cult and we're going to through the street saying, get the shoes. We're going to make them show themselves naked. And the whole thing's this weird homoerotic ritual. And you're watching the whole thing going, wow, this is so not going to work. And it's not going to work because of how profitable it is to avoid your own shit by running around the street with torches saying, we're going to have to take off the Jews' clothes and expose them on TV because that'll fix it. Yeah, the pornographers, we're going to rape them. We're going to remove their clothes and then we're going to put it on TV. And we're going to start a whole community based on how clean we are because we cleansed ourselves of the shoes. And this shoes is never going away. As long as there's an addiction for it. As long as there's a dealer, the addict gets to absolve himself of all responsibility. It wasn't me. It was my dealer. And the drug is cortisol. The drug is shame. The drug is a natural resource. The drug is politics. The drug is capitalized. The drug is romanticized. I probably do mean that. The astrotheology of Jesus. Let's see if Mary de Morth is correcto. If she's not, I need you guys to burn her and blame her for all your problems if this is wrong. The astrotheology of Jesus. Let's see if it's here. Is there a list here? Of all the things that were done, it's like an orgasm of, oh my God, spank me harder, Daddy. Spank me harder. And I don't want to take that away. It should be that one because that's what I said it was, Moth, but it's actually not that one. So I just led everybody on a total wrong goose chase. I'm not going to look because I could totally see it taking 30 hours for me to find it. I really could, but I appreciate it. I was the one that told you that, and it was totally wrong. Let's see. I had a Scrooge moment recently. The book Technology Belief is starting to make sense. Oh, right on, Dale. Yeah, Scrooge is the same energy. I swear it's the same energy. It's great. But if you're raised like Veal, you're never going to be able to understand that. Because you're going to be watching the profiteers say, "Oh my God, we found out. We got the shoe. We got the shoe because we have an addiction to it." So how did this addiction home? Here's your dealers. Keep in mind that in 1895, that was when the Holocaust was printed in the New York Times, but it had been printed everywhere for much longer, much longer. And if you really want to know the source of all of everyone's problems, I swear to you, if you really want to look at what is actually causing okay, let me rephrase that. If we are in the business of shopping for witches to burn, if we're looking for someone to blame, oh, we gotta blame someone. Oh, let's blame these people. It would be these people. In 1851 and 1846, Reuters and AP, 5 years away from each other, formed the entire arterial injection of data into your mind. They installed a propaganda machine that has never, ever been rivaled in our present epoch, is what I'm saying. It has never been rivaled. And do you know why it works? Because it runs on shit. It runs on horrible eugenics capitalization. And do you know how, remember back when all of us Christians were like, "Oh, we don't want to borrow money because usury is evil. Therefore, we will borrow money from the Jews." That's literally what happened. It happened in law, it happened in church, it happened in court, it happened everywhere. And the whole time we're giving them we're giving the Canaanites, whatever you want to call them, we're giving them all the money. And the whole time we're like, well, yeah, because usury is wrong, we're going to totally give them all of our life force. We're going to literally take our life force and give it to them because it's wrong. Well, why are you doing that? Because it's wrong. Because it's wrong. And you really understand that what the Christians were gaining. But by the Jews accepting the usury as a business model, by them accepting it, okay, Jews instantly start to reap the profits. Christians instantly start to reap the profits of that relationship. Because the moment you borrow from a Jew and you're saying, "I can only do it if it's a Jew," is the moment that you feel superior. Which means that the Jew is actually selling you a product. And you're pretending that that product doesn't exist. And because you're pretending that that product doesn't exist, the Jew will charge you more. Why? Because he knows that you need him to play the fiasco on top of it. He knows he has to listen to you, sound like a retard, running around going, "It's the Jews and I'm borrowing money from them." And that was thousands of fucking years. And you realize the whole time that really a Christian was just a Jew who could not do moon math. It's the exact same tenet. Christians, I'm looking at you. I love you. You know me. Even if you insist you don't. I came from you. I am one of you. I still am you. And this is what happened. We were lightweights. We only want just the tip. Just only cut off the tip, and I'll pay taxes, but I don't want to do anything else. And the radicalized Jew that we saw back then, the ones that we all say, "Oh, well, all those horrible radicalized Jews," those are the ones saying, "Why the fuck are you giving your life force to this city? What the fuck, dude? We have our own tribes. We've got 13 of them. We have the Iroquois Confederacy living right here. And we over here, we worship Cathala. And we over here, we worship Catala. And we over here, we worship boobies. And we over here, we worship the cleavage. And we over here, we worship this and we worship that." And it was only one of those tribes that said, "Yeah, well, we worship, so all that's great. But our tribe, we actually worship the dude that all your guys worship." And the 12 tribes were kind of like banging their drums, just like, "We are family, boo, 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 uncle, my sisters, and me." And they all of a sudden go, whoa. Wait. Did you say our booby god worships your God Yahweh? It's like, "Yeah, man. It's my way or Yahweh. Yahweh or the highway, motherfucker." That's what they were saying. They're like, "Take the Yahweh, I'll get the fuck out, motherfucker." And you have that, the first incongruence inside a bioregional sovereign land based on unanimous consent. And in the middle of that flux, instead of the other 12 tribes having enough fucking balls to say, hey, we're going to fucking bitch slap Yahweh and we're going to have a ritual tonight where we literally sodomize him on this post to show you guys that no, boobies doesn't worship your God or whatever. You couldn't handle that. So instead you start paying taxes to Rome. You're like, oh, come save me. Oh, I'm being hurt. 12 of us are being hurt by these one guys and they're just so bad. They're so bad. And it allowed this whole other vacuum to come in. Why? Because there's an addiction to the victimhood Olympics, and it's been seated in you since you were born. Do you know why? Because you lost part of yourself when you were born. And when I say lost, I mean you lost the connection to it because you do not know or understand how important your placenta was, how important your aedum was. The union of you before you were born causes all of your sexuality, all of your shame when you're naked, all of the guilt that you feel, and all of the antenna of outward guilt that you will take on you because you, deep down, have a wound because you did not alchemize that you were cleaved. And you will not alchemize that you were cleaved until you start to fully understand who the Eye of Horus is. The Eye of Horus is your placenta. It is the spirit, plasma, and essence of who you are. It is the eye in the sky. It connects you with an umbilical. It is the tree of life that draped itself down and fed you from the time you were born, and it gave its life when you were born. And this loss of ritual, this lack of importance of placing your pharaoh's foot on the ground has caused this cleaving to feel like a loss, to feel like a wound. And people are going to be expressing themselves in very fucked up transgenderish ways until they understand this. And I'm saying this because it's actually related all the way back to the victimhood Olympics that we've been playing since Christ. That we flail ourselves, we cattail ourselves, we crawl around with a liberal agenda insisting that our supremacy is bad because we have not understood this core truth of who we are. And Egypt has been telling you this the whole time. All of this has been told to you the whole time. Who you are. Your anima, your animus, all of the psychology is there, but we're victimizing ourselves because we love the idea of living in trauma. Why? Because the cortisol is mixed with the dopamine. And you are required, if you grew up in the veal farm, you were required to develop a new appetite. And most will not. Look around. Look what happened last week. Most will not. And the very people that are professing to save you are the very people that are addicted to the cortisol of feeling like someone should be saved. These umbilicals should mean nothing if we had no addiction to cortisol, but they mean everything. Reuters and AP literally have told us every lie we've ever heard and that we will ever be told, and we still listen. And you cannot tell me, well, we only listen because the guys in charge make us listen. You're full of shit. You don't even have like 57 channels anymore. You have millions and billions of channels to watch. All of us do. Take responsibility for your RV. If you're going to get in this big fat ass thing with arms and legs and this witness cannon that literally burns flowers every time it looks at it, burns them into living and wilts them away by staring too hard. If you're going to be inside that giant witness cannon RV, you take fucking responsibility for all the empty shoes that you make There's your hair shirt, and it will get you farther because you will understand. I'm preaching to the choir, I know. But you will understand why these things are not only toxic, but more importantly, why people have an appetite for them. And please, let's not blame the dealer. Let's not, because do you know what happened when Hitler blamed the dealer? And I want to blame the dealer too. Fuck, I've spent a lot of my life wanting, we have to blame the dealer. We must blame the dealer. We must blame the dealer. John Podesta was literally calling, what if this is all true? Seriously, what the fuck's wrong with our society? Like, it would make sense to me if this was all true, that this would be what I've seen actually happen in Central America, where no shit, where if someone does something really fucked up, there is something before justice. There's just simply natural law, and natural law precedes justice in a land where people know that justice itself is fake. Why? Because justice hasn't congealed, right? Justice phases in as something we believe in. Oh my God, don't tread on me. And then it goes away. But holy fuck, justice was a fucking illusion. What, are you fucking kidding me? I don't have rights. I have natural law. So both sides of that peak, of that bell, right, see the natural law. And if these things were true, and I wrote about this, why don't we? I wanted to tear them apart. So why don't we? Why don't we? We claim that we live in a society where a teenage gunman gets mad over a video game. We claim that that's the society we have right now, that because of the video game, he set off and he goes in and he mass murders millions of shoes. So if we live in that society, why the fuck is Bill Gates allowed to wander around? Why the fuck is John Podesta or Tony Podesta, sorry. It doesn't matter which one actually is wanted around. Why does the Clinton kill list? There's 310 people on the Clinton hit list? Are we really saying that the reason why is because they're too dastardly? That when Hillary drops her shoe, or when her clone drops her shoe, or when whatever the fuck we want to talk about, not once has any of us had a shot at that. But if little Billy is bullied, then he's going to gun down the entire neighborhood, and that's what we're told to believe. And over 50% of the population is on some sort of mind-altering med. I think it's 60%. 60% believes there's a chemical imbalance, and we've never found one of them. Why? Because we are addicted to this stuff. Why are we addicted to this stuff? Because we have a wound that we have not witnessed yet, and the moment you witness it gets better. It gets better. Your entire perspective changes. But that's an electrical thing, and you're going to have to level up. And as you know, when you try and level up, the moment I finished this book, I was ambushed like a motherfucker at this gathering. It was like this energetic fucking cannon of just fuck you. And since then, it's been these other energetic cannons of attack this, attack that. And there was a time when I wouldn't want that electricity, so I would whine about it. And the whole time I've been like, this is what it feels like to level up. This is why I started the stream telling you how you treat yourself. How you treat yourself when you're under this pressure defines everything. Everything about who you are and what you will become. All of it. And there are archetypes in you that you were good at. I don't want to change them. I am a fucking great hyena. I'm great. I can lick another hyena's butthole like the rest of them. Do you know why I'm so good at it? Because I'm the only one who actually admits that this is what the fuck we do. That's kind of what makes me a good hyena. Because I've compassionated myself. I've compassionated my totem. I am part raccoon. I am part hyena. I am part fucking giraffe. I am part lion. I am part man. Right? This is the chimera. The true symbolism of that is understanding the four-dimensionality of your archetypes itself, that the scaffolding of the archetypes itself forms this great circle, and every one of these totems is available to you. But that cortisol, you want that cortisol. You and I both do. Do you understand the purest of heart would have no cortisol? Which means that the cortisol that we're injecting is simply our own denial of our own purity. We're just simply denying our own purity. That's why we eat like shit. Well, I don't eat like shit. I eat okay, well, except for you. We eat like shit. That's why. That's why we have the appetite for AP and Reuters. You know it's true. You know it's true. I'm still catching up. Pineal, the first eye. The first eye is the pineal gland. People call it the third eye. I'm not trying to tell you to change that, but if you're gonna be in our cult, you're gonna have to call it the first eye, okay? Because when you get on the bus and we're all riding around and we pull in to the drive-through, right? Because everybody wants a freaking Dairy Queen. You're gonna be like, yeah, it was a third eye, and people are gonna stop. They're gonna look at you. They're like, why did you call it the third eye? You're not one of us, Dale. You called it the third eye. You didn't call it the first eye. You can't join our Luciferian festival now because you have not adopted the proper language, Dale. Where did you come from, Dale? Are you possibly an agent from outside, Dale? Are you? So it's the first eye is this. The first eye is your central. I can't wait for you guys to see the show on 5-5. I cannot wait. Oh my god, the 5-5 show is going to be amazing. We've already written some bits, but yeah, the first eye is what you're actually perceiving source through. So all source, first of all, everything's source. It's not like, oh, we live in a dark world, and inside the light, if it falls through the effervescent thigh gap of a virgin, then that light that falls through that thigh gap, that is source. But everything else, Dale, is not source. No, that's not. We don't do that here either. Source is everything. The muck, the darkness, all of it is source. And that source is simply melanated by our consciousness when we render it. We render through the first eye, then we send our visual data back to the occipital lobe, and we're like, yeah, I'd like you to paint a landscape for the pilot. Oh, we're going to paint the captain a painting? Yeah, we're going to paint him an interpretation of source. And the occipital lobe goes, oh, okay, well, source is saying there's a whole bunch of plasmatic energy that's been here for 10,000s of years, and that'll be beautiful. I'll paint an aurora borealis. He's like, no. I want you to stop. He doesn't like no aurora borealis on his plate. He finds demons too scary, so we're not going to paint the demons in the picture. And the occipital lobe's like, but as an artist, this is my... He suddenly changed it to French because he's so upset. He's like, this is the essence of my art. If I cannot express the aurora borealis through the demonic hauntings that surround our reality, how am I supposed to paint with a certain realism? It's like, yeah, I don't really fucking care what you do. That's why you're in the back of the head. But if you don't put out a painting in 3 seconds, we're gonna cut off your dopamine. We're gonna stop serving your red blood cells, occipital lobe. And when you're back there with no red blood cells asphyxiating, you're suddenly gonna think maybe art isn't so important to me. Oh, this is insane. You cannot do this. Oh, I'm feeling very noxious. I'm losing my oxygen. Oh, I will paint your painting. Oh, what do you want me to paint it as? Just put some trees in there. Just give him some trees. The guy likes trees. Yeah, you paint a tree, the dude he's like a kitten in your hands. Just put some trees around. He'll be fine. That's your first eye. Your first eye has all the information, all the sources there. It's all there, Dale. It's all right there. The burning center of it all is this gigantic plasmatic needle just effervescently rendering reality all the time. It's a witness. It's a cold fusion witness on a 0 point, and that 0 point is your focus. And it has everything. You do not collect energy from anywhere else in the world. All of the energy that you collect is already in your pineal the second. It's not even the second. It's rendering it right now. Why? Because it's brain sand. Your heartbeat squeezes it inside a liquid, your cranial spinal fluid, and it ping. It sends a ping out in the world, and source returns itself and gives it a shape. And that shape is sight, sound, touch, feel, and all that is like a half a second behind what your pineal sees. Your pineal knows you're going to die before you do. Your first eye. If you don't call it that, Dale, you're not going to get any fucking sprinkles. You're probably not even going to be able to get back on the bus after the rest stop. people are just going to say, Dale isn't using the language of the first I. And I like Dale, but I don't know if we're going to be able to have him on the bus anymore. So Dale, do what you can. We don't want to lose you, buddy. I have not been watching chat, so I have no idea how that's being received. But anyway, that's the first I, and actually it's kind of way off topic. But it's a good question. William Randolph Hearst was the same thing. He was the same thing. In fact, this guy was accused of anti-Semitism. Why? Because there was a psychopathy war for who was willing to inject bullshit stories more. Do you understand who won the news war? Wasn't the people that were like, oh, we will only declare the truth. Are you fucking kidding me? That's not who won the news war. AP and Reuters won because they were willing to print things that were salacious. Just at the right edge. It's not about National Enquirer Bat Boy. It's not. This is a nuanced art. And this art we are only going to give to the people that are willing to lie and manipulate to print it. They won by default because our appetite has never been for truth. Our appetite has been for fucking cortisol and dopamine combined. What do you think the idea of nuclear weapons is? What do you think the idea of stop, drop, and roll in the 50s? In the 60s, children were told the nuclear bomb's coming, get under your desk. Now they're telling get under your desk because a shooter is coming. And you're doing that to the mind of veal, which means that veal injects the cortisol, and you're doing systemically because you have what's called a public education system in place. But this isn't human trafficking. It's not human trafficking if my kid's just 3 miles down the street. And no, I'm not telling you take your kids out of school. I'm telling you watch the consciousness flow. Watch the truth of how fucking clever all of us are. This is not an excuse or another opportunity for you to shove a broomstick up your ass and show how broken you fucking are. Stop. I know that if you, no matter how much you've wronged me, no matter how much you've righted me, no matter how shitty you've been in the past, no matter what your credit score is, I know for a fact, if you are given more electricity, you will become more moral simply by budget. That the budget will simply allocate because your body will want to feel good, and your serotonin is not going to reward you like your dopamine will. Your dopamine will say crack is great, 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 crack is great. Serotonin will say I've had enough. I've had enough. I've had enough. And if you will not listen to Hal, lanolin, if you will not listen to the Hal that's inside your large intestine telling you I've had enough, he will shut your ass down. Why? Because he's literally on the base floor. He controls your entire engines, your turbine, your prop screws, your flaps, all of it. He will shut your ass down. And you and I are learning to drive this car. And many times in consciousness, people don't even know they have a clutch. They grind the fuck out of themselves, and you can do it. You can do it. I had a car that didn't have first gear. It was very painful, but you could do it. You could do it. Hearst was doing it too. He invented yellow journalism, right? And so the anti-Jew and the Jew were both fighting over which one was true. And meanwhile, they were both pro-Jew, which is great. Hey, be pro-human, be pro-whatever. I want everyone to be pro-people, because if people had more electricity, they wouldn't do this. If there wasn't an appetite, these guys wouldn't have succeeded. This was 1863, right? He's born 1863 through 1951. Do you understand how crucial the turn of the century was, the 19th century? Like all of sovereignty was up for grabs. This was the same time, by the way, when we had stories of like Egypt is in Ohio, or Jesus, actually, the land of Jesus is here, and that all of us were declaring and plasmicating the land as magical, but inserting our own myths. Why? Because we were too lazy to learn Indian words. They're like, I'm not going to fucking say Choctaw. I'm not going to say Choctaw. What am I, a fucking Choctaw? I'm going to walk around using word walk around. That's probably a word too. Walk around. I don't want to fucking learn their culture. You kidding? I am from England, and we have our own culture. And it's the fashion, the same kind of thing. And you need that. It's the only way you would be able to survive. It's no different. It's no different. Although Benjamin Franklin told all of you in a letter, he said, I do not think it's possible for the gentleman from England, for any gentleman from England to come over here and live for a year and not completely change his ways and want this kind of life. That this kind of life on the frontier is the most satisfying dilating event I have ever experienced. Why? Because there was no cortisol. The cortisol was all over England. Look at London. It was a shithole. No offense. It was a shithole. It was such a shithole that it birthed one of the largest orifices of propaganda ever seen. It was covered in cortisol. The cortisol is literally what made people migrate. So good for cortisol. Cortisol is a medicine. It's the venom of the snake, isn't it? Colton, what is the reason in rewriting the timeline? What's the point of protecting 1900 through 1941 German history? And I said, well, they've been casting the 6 million narrative since the Talmud. And Colton says, could you explain more? Don't know a lot about it. All I know is Talmud was written like 2nd to 5th century or something like that. Wasn't it rabbis debating on teachings of the Torah? Were the 6 million Jews in the Holocaust narrative coming from this? And the answer is yes. But the answer is also first of all, it's not wrong to say the Talmud was written down. I please don't. If Colton's watching, there's nothing wrong with what you said. It's. However, the Talmud is actually the oral tradition, and it's thousands of years older. It's the written history of thought. It's every Jewish thought was considered valuable. And keep in mind that when the Talmudic oral tradition was writing, it was a class system of the elite, their own elite, landowners, family, people that had their own family, in your 40s kind of a thing. And if you entered into that sect and you built yourself up with a name, your words were remembered. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, the Talmud says this, so therefore they're evil. But what's really profound about the Talmud is that the Talmud's honest. If you want to know why people punish the Talmud, they punish the Talmud because the Talmud is authentic. The Talmud didn't do what the Septuagint did, or the Council of Trent, or any of the 7 different massive renditions of the Bible. The Talmud said, we will not censor. We will not censor. Our past is vital to us understanding who we are. The worst of what we say is as important as the best of what we say, and we are not the tenants of even knowing if what they're saying is good or bad. And so you find people like me who want to study history that have had no choice whatsoever than to look for the most authentic text. And we cannot find that text because it was oral. And that oral was the Talmud. And there was a time when someone started to write it down. And when they started to write it down, there probably was a lot of censorship too. And I think that every racist tone that you read in there, every atrocity, every inclination they say about how they would treat their uncivilized or who they viewed uncivilized around them is all absolutely legit. And I know that if you were to look at any kind of evil eye, hext, or how the churches treated slaves, that if you were a church in France, you were literally entitled to like the living livestock of humans of your village as slaves. And what I'm trying to say is that from the piety of that fake Magdalene, of that Tower of Babel, we would get to say the same thing we would do. Well, we can't borrow money, so we need a Jew. You get to say, well, we can't write everything down. We'll just say the Jews did all that. I realize people right now are like, well, yeah, the Jews subverted politics. It's like, okay, are you fucking seriously saying that the Christians did not? Are we seriously trying to say that? The governor of Florida made it illegal for anyone who was aboard the USS Liberty to even say what happened. It's a felony now in Florida. That dude was a Christian. Oh, but he's controlled by Jews. Well, then you're a fucking cuck because you think you're controllable. You're making excuses for him. You're committing the usury because you're taking away his sovereignty. That man's fucking governor. That's a fucking grown-ass man. He's not a Jew. He's a Christian fucking cuck. He's a Zionist cuck is what he is. Oh, well, then no, it's not, is it? Is it? Who's doing that? Who's doing it? James, he's in an RV. He can't help who he mows over. He can't be responsible for that. He's being controlled. The controllers are making him mull over all those children. He's the one destroying First Amendment. It's not him. It's the secret people that we'll never, ever be able to find or blame, James. That's who's doing it. And God forbid if we do, we'll just insist that they should be strung up, but no one will actually strung them up. Why? Because we need them. Do you know why no one's strung up Tony Podesta? Because we need him. Same with Hillary Clinton. We need her. She makes us feel good about herself. Look at her hit record. We are fucking golden next to her. That's really what's happening. James, I don't know if I feel good about this isn't Colton. I'm James, I don't know if I feel good about that. This is kind of weird. The truth of the matter, Holocaust, right, is something wholly burnt up, wholly consumed by fire. And this goes back to Zoroastrianism, right? That the only way to sacrifice something was to burn it completely in fire. You're removing its resource. Why? Because the removal of the resource, the removal of a natural resource allows you to be better. Now ask yourself why they're calling it a Holocaust. Please ask yourself that. Please understand that a Holocaust is literally a contract. It's an algorithm placed in the world. And don't you dare for a fucking second thinking that it's only the shoes that have this algorithm. Because we have the most sophisticated, I won't even call them powerful, we have the most sophisticated, expensive military in the world. And we literally walk around saying, we must sacrifice. Thank you for your sacrifice and your service. Thank you. Thank you, says American Christians on their Zionist war. Hunting down their Luciferians, right? Oh, we're going to get the Luciferian. It's not my fault, the Luciferian. This is a transaction. That's why it's called Holocaust. And if you want to know why it's 6 million, it's because that's a magical number. These are all the dates. You'll notice that 1900, 1903, 1903, 1905, 1906, 1914, 1918, 1919, 1921, 1933, 1933, 1935, 1936, 1938, 1938, 1939, 1941. Finally, where the term 6 million is written down before it even happened. And this is just this one paper. And we consider this paper news. And we pay taxes to government that considers this paper news. Why? And you want to say, because the government's bad, because the government's not. No, because our appetite wants that. Our appetite's like, we really want this. We really want this. And I guess only the Luciferian would ever see through this, I guess. I guess that's where we're at. Where if you want to see through this, if you want to truly understand what's happening around us, that you would have to be called a Luciferian to see it. And so all of you are fucking Luciferians right now. Fine. Fine. You know what? I'd rather you be called that and see it than close your fucking eyes and say, we're going to get the shows, but we're not Luciferian. Because there's your threshold right there. Do you want to know how painful it is to see shit like this? And when I see shit like this, I'm talking about what your appetite is, where your own cortisol is, right? Is as expensive as being called a Luciferian. And most aren't ready for that. 6 million number, perfect number. Lots of different references to that corresponding with the fact that 10 is the trial. So it's like 600,000 times 10 gets you that 6 million. And you know about gematria, so you know that the 6 million isn't even like an arbitrary thing. And so you're watching a newspaper say, hey, I will listen carefully to how I'm saying this. You're watching a newspaper saying, oh, if only you would have said 6 million, I would have printed it. And it's not because the newspaper, it's because the appetite of the people that read this, the appetite of the people that want to believe that we would never live in a world of eugenics because, well, how do you know that? Well, because in World War II, there was a eugenics war against Jews. 6 million Jews were burned in the Holocaust by Hitler. But that was Europeans. It was Europeans. And we don't actually have any record of it being 6 million. It doesn't matter, though. And this is why I'm here to say to you, I think it's a Holocaust. I think that we do so much disrespect to Jewish people by insisting it was 6 million. I really, really respect and believe, I'm really proud of Auschwitz Museum. I'm proud of what they've done. They were the only ones that looked at the New York Times and says, why are you full of shit? Why are you full of shit? Why are you, New York Times, full of shit? That's what the Auschwitz Museum said. And do you know why? Because they truly were honoring the lives. It wasn't about shoe count for them. It was about, we're a museum. We're here to memorialize something. It was the most honorary thing they could have done. Hats off to you, Auschwitz. And they corrected their plaque. It used to say 4 million or something, and then they issued a retraction and made a new plaque. They said it wasn't that many. It wasn't. And when asked, they're like, we don't know. I think a lot of people were just upset and they were trying to capitalize. They would never say that, but the reason why is because they were trying to capitalize on it. They were trying to capitalize on eugenics. And because of how soft the veal is in the country, why would we doubt that? Why would we doubt something so horrific like that? And what is the profit? Why does it even matter? That's my favorite retort. Bernard the retard bard, his favorite retort is that, well, why does it matter? It's like, well, why does it matter if it matters? That's the best rebuttal to that. When someone says, well, why does it even matter? Say, well, why does it even matter if it matters? And just see what they do. Because they just lack the electricity. And you can't make them see it. You shouldn't make them see it. There's no reason to make them see it. You can't yell at flowers right now. It's the last thing they could do. But you see them capitalizing on it. New York Times published a book with the word Jew written 6 million times. Just profoundly dramatic. Do you know that there was a chorus, a piano? And you know what's really sucks about that is that it wasn't a picnic there because people were believing in government. People were watching a eugenics program and they didn't want to call it eugenics. And so they said, well, it's not a eugenics program. This is just happening because there are other enemies that we have to fight. And so we're going to go get inside this fence that's called a safety center. I'm not making this up. Come into the Telegram group sometime and ask Sark about some of those films that literally show just what was happening. That it was localers, just people local, anyone. It didn't matter what shoes you had on. It didn't matter what class you were. That if you just simply lived off the land, if you had your own farm, if you had anything, you were told, your life is in grave danger. You must come into this fenced-in cage and die. That's what they were saying. And people believed it the same way they believe in right? It's the same way. And now, about to blow your mind, because even the principle of the Holocaust itself is a rough one. It's a rough one. I believe that the Talmud has information from the last prior reset. And I believe in that information there is stored some sort of primitive text that was made from the last time the reset was primitive. And that the congruence of the last reset led to what is considered the oral tradition of the Talmud now. It was written back then. So every time you can't write a book to a primitive man, and you can't take one of my books and give it to a primitive man. He's not going to understand any of it. The only way that you could lead the primitive man to a book like myself, meaning just something that's further along advanced through time, is to talk to him in his language. And the only way you could talk to him in his language is by using probably some sort of AI that's literally sifting through the ancient texts and analyzing and running protocols using a brain as a as a test bed to decide what parables, what philosophies, what mythology would best be kept stored through 12,000 year reset or a 6,000 year reset, whichever. And that the only way you could store through that is this idea that it will require 6 million to purify, or 600,000, because that was a number they understood. That 600,000 would need to be purified. And they're really literally telling you that it will require vitriol. And the story of Cain, and it's the story of Canaan, the story of both Adam's son and Prometheus and Moses' son, both of them were cursed and broken. And they were cursed and broken because it would stunt growth. This is plant shucking or sharding. You literally can cause a plant damage to spur its growth. And that the only way these people could convey that from long ago, which was in the future, I know it's confusing as fuck, is to encode it inside the mythology, because the mythology is already there. You know, we have these terror stories around where we're like, oh my God, someone's going to find my hard drive in a barge in China and they're going to download my credit card information. I'm like, bitch, all of the sweat that's coming from you that you wash down the drain, all of that sweat, all of those salt crystals, they're going into if it's a sewage plant or if they're going into your well, they are eventually seeping into the soil. And God is defragging every one of those salt crystals, and he knows every fucking thing about you. It's all in the salt. When you sweat that shit, when you cry that shit, when you cum that shit, when you piss that shit, when you shit that shit, all of that is information on a barge in China. And some little dude is going to be sifting through it, and he's going to find your salt, and he's going to know all your secrets. But we can only feel comfortable in that, knowing that, well, I looked up YouTube how to erase a hard drive with a magnet. And then I put that magnet on top of my laptop accidentally, and it was just horrible what happened, right? You guys having a good show? I hope you are. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for helping my channel along. I'd like to encourage each of you to even consider leaving a comment. And I'd like to invite you all personally to my live show on 5/5 in Providence, Rhode Island. Really excited to bring this to you. We have 10 members officially in the orchestra that are helping us with this performance. More, there's actually many more. This is just the initial sign up. But these people have been officially interviewed. I'm really looking forward to dilating you guys, and I hope you can join me. I hope that today's episode has kind of like helped you see a little bit deeper about why this stuff's happening. Because when you do, you will save a lot of calories, not falling for the whole, well, if it's broken, we got to blame someone. If we're going to blame someone, we got to do this. And if we're going to do this, then we got to do that. Hugh, we are going to film it if we sell more tickets. I don't have enough in the budget to film it, but if we sell more tickets, we're actually going to get someone to film it, just so you know. So, yeah, hopefully people will buy a ticket. Magnet me harder, Daddy. There you go, Adrian. All right. Appreciate you guys. Some of you guys really dig Hitler, and I hope this wasn't a letdown for you. I really, only recently have I been really trying to compassionate Hitler, and I got to tell you, I feel like he saw the potential for all of his brethren to level up. And I saw the potential for Owen and Crow and all of them. I saw a potential that, dude, we can fucking level up. And yeah, I'm Hitler in this. And I know that if I just would extend myself enough, or if I would take another chance, if I would do what I did with Ben Balderson and just trust his word, or do that with Crow or whatever else, that if I just kept trusting and kept thinking that the people would show themselves, and I don't think they did. Hitler saw this. I think it fucking crushed him. I think it crushed him because the fatherland needed more spunk. And he started getting desperate because he had overextended. He didn't put 40% in. Hitler put 100% in. And it made him do some questionable things. And he lost some judgment along the way because he was too invested. I've said since day one, I think you need 40%. And you need 40% because you're going to be able to look at your own pedophilia, look at your own human trafficking, look at your own appetite for cortisol. Because the more you do, the more electricity you save. And as I said before, I know for a fact, every one of you, if you have more electricity, you'd be more moral. I know it. I know. Because that's the only source of morality is going to come from you. It's not going to come from your obedience. It's not going to come from your torture Olympic ceremony that you have about how much of a victim you are. Don't fall as if I've compassioned Hitler to fall. I feel that if he actually did end up killing himself in a bunker, I think it was because he just realized that the people weren't actually ready. And he would start with something like, let's outlaw porn. Believe it or not, the moment that you hear someone say that is the moment they're saying, I don't trust the people. The people aren't going to be able to do this. They're removing the sovereignty. It's so weird. And it's why you should be thankful that the Talmud is so authentic. I swear, you should be thankful for that. Because those ideas are in everyone's mind. You're just looking at the ones that were written down. And the fact that they wrote them down, I think is more commendable than the people that are like, oh, I'm just going to cut my kid's junk off and tell everyone how fucking better I am because I'm not one of them. There's your sicko. There's the sorry sicko, but there's the flower that needs to bloom. And hey, so does all the shit in the Talmud. It's like, yeah, the man bear pig will serve in an altar church where they will follow a Noahic law of basically just 7 things that we tell them to do. And these will be humanistic things where they do not hurt each other, and they do not lie, and they do not cheat, and they do not steal. But all of their spirituality and consciousness is beyond their capabilities, so we will have to feed them through some sort of a tube like AP and Reuters. And all of us are like, yeah, the stupid Jews, they have no idea. And it's like, you were thinking that they created all this, and there's nothing wrong with that because you don't understand how the cornucopia, how the snake eats itself, right? Time is cyclical. So it would be right for you to say they're the ones creating this. But once you see the bigger picture, you understand that the reason why this was done is precisely because of what happened last time. And precisely what happened last time, and what happened last time. And you and I are living in a culture where we insist none of this ever happened before. None of this has ever happened before. We have never been this advanced ever. That's the first tenet that requires you to buy into this bullshit. It's the very first one. Love you guys. Remember the Holocaustimo. I can't believe I wasn't mentioned this entire show. I'll be back though.